Before rumors twist the truth, and before silence rewrites history, you need to hear this now. On Kdrama Drops, we bring you an exclusive story that has never been told like this before. What really happened when Shen Yue finally confronted Dylan Wang and Miles way behind closed doors. This was not acting. This was not scripted. This was the moment years of unspoken feelings collided and changed everything forever. It happened away from the cameras, far from the noise of social media, in a quiet space that suddenly felt too small for the emotions it contained. Shen Yue stood there, calm on the outside, but carrying everything she had held back for far too long. Both Dylan Wang and Miles Wei were present. They did not expect this conversation. They did not expect her to speak the way she did. For years, Shen Yue had been the one who stayed composed, the one who smiled through uncertainty, the one who avoided choosing sides when everyone else tried to force her into a narrative. But that day, she chose clarity over comfort. She began slowly, her voice steady but unmistakably firm. I am tired of pretending nothing is happening. The room went silent. Dylan Wang looked down briefly, as if already knowing what was coming. Miles' way shifted slightly, his expression unreadable but attentive. Neither interrupted her. Neither dared to. Shen Yue took a breath and continued. Every time I walk onto a set, every time I see the way people look at us, I feel the weight of things that were never said, but always felt. Her words were not accusatory. They were honest, and that made them impossible to ignore. She turned first toward Dylan Wang. You have always been distant when it mattered most, she said quietly. Not cold, not unkind, just absent in the moments that needed presence. Dylan Wang did not defend himself. He did not deny it. He listened. Then she faced Miles' way. And you, she continued, have always been there. But sometimes being there without clarity creates its own confusion. That was when the tension truly surfaced. Miles' way finally spoke. I never wanted to add pressure, he said. I only wanted to support you. Shen Yue nodded, acknowledging the truth in his words. I know, she replied. But support without honesty can still hurt. The air felt heavy, not with anger, but with everything that had been avoided for too long. Dylan Wang finally spoke, his voice lower than usual. I did not know how to say what I felt without making things worse. Shen Yue looked at him, her eyes steady. Silence made things worse, she said. Silence always does. That was the moment everything shifted. This was not a confrontation meant to blame. It was a confrontation meant to free all three of them from assumptions and unfinished conversations. She spoke about moments that stayed with her, glances that lingered, words that almost came out, but never did. Situations where she felt pulled in different directions without anyone acknowledging the tension. I am not asking either of you for anything, she said. I am asking for truth. Miles' Wei exhaled slowly. The truth is, he said, I cared more than I should have allowed myself to show. Dylan Wang followed. The truth is, he said, I cared but chose distance because I did not trust my timing. Those words landed quietly but deeply. Shen Yue closed her eyes briefly, as if absorbing the weight of what she had just heard. Thank you, she said. That is all I needed. There were no dramatic outbursts, no raised voices, just three people finally acknowledging what had been shaping their dynamic all along. After that conversation, something changed. Not dramatically, not publicly, but internally. On set, the tension eased. Interactions became clearer. Boundaries were finally understood instead of assumed. Shen Yue walked differently, lighter, as if she had set down something heavy she had been carrying alone. Dylan Wang became more present, not emotionally entangled, but emotionally honest. Miles' Wei stepped back slightly, not out of rejection, but out of respect. The confrontation did not end relationships. It refined them. This was the real drama no one saw. Not a scandal, not a betrayal, but the courage to speak when silence had lasted too long. And that is why this moment matters. Because behind every polished scene and controlled appearance, real emotions exist. And sometimes the most powerful moment is not what happens on screen, but what finally gets said when the cameras are gone. After Shen Yue's initial words, the room fell into a tense silence. It was not the silence of emptiness, but the kind that weighs on your chest, the kind that forces every person to confront their own thoughts before speaking. Dylan Wang and Miles Wei both remained still, the atmosphere thick with everything unspoken for years. Every glance, every hesitation, every careful word from the past seemed to echo in that small room. Shen Yue looked directly at Dylan Wang first. She could see the conflict in his eyes, the struggle between honesty and caution, between what he wanted to say and what he thought he should. I have tried for years to understand your choices, she began, my voice steady, but my heart racing. I have stayed quiet when I should have spoken, and I have spoken when I should have stayed quiet. But now I need clarity. Dylan Wang exhaled, his gaze lowering briefly. Words failed him for a moment, not because he lacked feelings, but because the weight of those feelings was suddenly undeniable. He had spent years avoiding this confrontation, believing silence was safer. But silence never freed anyone. Miles' way shifted slightly, glancing between the two of them. He understood that Shen Yu's words were not meant to accuse. They were not meant to blame. They were meant to uncover the truth, even if it hurt. Even if it shattered the fragile balance they had maintained. Shen Yu's voice grew firmer. You cannot hide behind politeness or avoidance anymore. I need to know what you both feel. Not what you want others to think. Not what the public expects. I need truth. Dylan Wang finally spoke. His voice was low, measured, but filled with the emotion he had long buried. I cared. She said nothing. I just did not know how to show it without causing more pain. I stayed silent, thinking distance would protect you, but I realized now it only hurt us all. Shen Yue turned slowly toward Miles Wei. And you, she said, have always been present, but presence without honesty can create confusion. Miles Wei's eyes widened slightly, as if realizing the depth of what she was saying. I never wanted to create confusion, he said quietly. I only wanted to support, to be there in the way I could. The room remained silent for a long moment, each person processing the weight of those words. This was not a battle. It was not a fight. It was a reckoning, a chance to finally release what had lingered too long. Shen Yue continued, her voice softening. What matters is not past mistakes, not hidden emotions, not unspoken words. What matters is clarity, understanding, and respect for each other. This confrontation is not about who is right or wrong. It is about acknowledging reality and moving forward. Dylan Wang nodded slowly. I understand now, he said. I cannot change the past, but I can choose honesty from this moment forward. Miles Wei added, and I will respect that. I will step back when needed, and I will be sincere in what I do. Shen Yue felt a weight lift from her shoulders. It was not relief from confrontation. It was relief from the burden of carrying these truths alone. For the first time, all three of them existed in the same space without pretense, without avoidance, without fear. After that day, their dynamic shifted permanently. On set, interactions became clearer, calmer, and more respectful. Boundaries were acknowledged rather than assumed. Emotional tension no longer simmered beneath the surface because it had been aired and understood. The confrontation did not end relationships. It refined them. Dylan Wang became more present and emotionally honest. Miles Wei stepped back with understanding rather than resentment. Shen Yue carried herself with the confidence of someone who had spoken her truth and had been heard. Outside the room, the world remained unaware of the quiet drama that had unfolded. Cameras never captured the tension. Social media never traced the lines of honesty and care that had been drawn that day. But for the three of them, nothing would ever be the same. Some stories do not end with applause or headlines. They end with honesty. They end with understanding. They end with the quiet, profound knowledge that all parties have been acknowledged and respected. Shen Yue looked at both men one last time before leaving the room. Thank you, she said simply. That is all I needed. And in that moment, the emotional confrontation was complete. The cameras might never see it. The world might never know. But the story would live on, quietly, in every interaction, in every glance, in the unspoken trust and clarity that now existed between them. This confrontation did not produce scandal. It produced resolution. And some truths, when spoken bravely and sincerely, can change everything without a single dramatic outburst. For Shen Yue, Dylan Wang, and Miles Wei, This was more than a confrontation. It was freedom. And that is why the story will linger long after the cameras have stopped rolling.